You ever feel like you're just spinning your wheels, working incredibly hard, but not really getting anywhere? Well, today we're going to talk about a really powerful idea that finding your why isn't just some fluffy, feel good exercise. It's actually the key to building your most profitable and, honestly, your most fulfilling life. I mean, does this feel familiar? You're putting in the hours, you're checking all the boxes, but you still have that nagging feeling that you're not making any real progress. It is an incredibly frustrating place to be. But here's a thought. What if the problem isn't how hard you're working, but what you're actually working towards? And this quote, man, it just nails it. The idea here is that for so many of us, the missing piece isn't about having more skill or finding the right opportunity or even having more money. It's purpose. That's the essential ingredient that ties everything else together. So what does that actually look like in real life? All right, so let's get into our first section. I want you to think about purpose, not as some, vague, abstract idea, but as a tool, a practical, powerful compass that can guide your entire financial journey. So, okay, what even is purpose? It's your why. It's the answer to those huge questions we all have, like, who am I, really? And what unique contribution am I here to make? And once you have that kind of clarity, you can stop chasing every shiny object and just focus on what actually moves the needle for you. And this is such a huge distinction to make. You've got activity on one hand. That's just being busy for the sake of being busy, a lot of motion without any real direction. And then you have productivity. That's making meaningful, actual progress. Purpose, that's the bridge. That's what turns all that chaotic activity into focused, powerful productivity. And look, this isn't just some feel-good stuff. This has real, tangible financial benefits. When you know your purpose, you get laser-focused, which helps you build deep expertise. And that expertise, it builds incredible confidence. And that confidence acts like a magnet for better opportunities. You just stop wasting time, energy, and money on things that don't really matter. You start building a direct line to mastery. And as the source says, masters are irreplaceable. Okay, so you've got your compass, but here's the thing. A compass is pretty useless if you're not actually looking at it and following its direction, right? And that's what this next section is all about, aligning your inner world. The idea here is so simple but so powerful. Your outer world is just a reflection of your inner world. You just can't expect to build a structured, wealthy life if your mind is full of clutter and confusion. It all starts on the inside. And this really breaks down two totally different ways of living. When you're just thinking from your circumstances, you're always reacting, you're always putting out fires, making emotional, short-term choices. But when you start thinking from your purpose, everything changes. You're anchored. You start making intentional, resilient decisions based on your long-term vision, not on the short-term chaos of the moment. Which brings us to one of the biggest roadblocks for so many of us, limiting beliefs. You know, those little stories we tell ourselves that hold us back? That little voice in your head that says, I don't really deserve this, or I'm just not good enough. Spotting these and then actually challenging them, that is a huge part of getting your inner world lined up with your purpose. All right, so we've talked about the what and the why. Now it's time for the how. This section is all about the brass tacks. How do you actually turn this inner purpose into real-world profit? The source material lays out this really clear 4-step path. First, you got to figure out what problem your passion actually solves for other people. Second, you have to get really, really good at it. We're talking consistent practice. Third, you package it up. Turn it into a service, a product, some kind of system. And fourth, you deliver that value, that transformation to others. It's a super practical roadmap from just having a passion to actually earning an income from it. And this table here is a fantastic way to start figuring out what your unique value even is. I mean, just take a second and think about it for yourself. What do you know a lot about? What do you absolutely love doing? And what's that thing you do so naturally it's almost effortless for you? Just knowing where your strengths are is the absolute first step to figuring out how to monetize them. Now, you can absolutely build a career in any one of these areas, but the real magic, the real sweet spot, is where all three of these overlap. When what you know, what you love, and what you're naturally gifted at all come together, man, that's when you create something powerful, authentic, and seriously valuable. And that brings us to the final, and maybe the most important part of this whole journey. Because this isn't just about making a buck.
It's about building a life where your wealth actually means something, where it's tied to responsibility and a real impact.
This right here is a totally different way of looking at wealth, isn't it? It's not just about the numbers in your bank account. It's about the positive impact you make, how responsibly you manage the resources you have, and the legacy, the value that lives on long after you're gone. Now that is true wealth. And this quote just says it all perfectly. It's about shifting your focus from what can I get to what can I give. It's a move from just being successful to being significant. It's all about what you give and who you inspire along the way. So the message here is pretty simple. This isn't just a bunch of nice ideas. It's an invitation. That path to a life that's both more profitable and deeply fulfilling, it's right there, waiting for you. And it all begins with taking that first step. Which leaves us with one final big question to think about. It's not about asking, what wealth can I go out and chase? Instead, it's about asking, what is the wealth that I was uniquely put on this earth to create? And honestly, spending some real time with that question, that might be the most valuable and profitable investment you ever make.